There is no greater sacrifice known to man other than giving one's life to the defense of the nation. The Indian Forces tradition is never to question but to do or die for the three N's: Naam, that is name, honor of the unit, army or nation; Namak, which translates to salt, that is loyalty to the nation; and Nishan, that is the insignia or flag of his unit, regiment, army or nation, which the soldiers hold afloat willingly. Asianet Newsable spoke to Colonel Diwakar Nagarajan, retired Indian Army officer, and his wife Elizabeth Matthews Nongbri, who is a social worker, on the eve of India's 74th Independence Day.
Well, as is a common phrase which is known in the army, there is a tooth to tail ratio, which basically implies is that the fighting element is classified as the teeth and the support or the administrative elements are classified as the tail. Ideally, any army would like to keep this ratio, the tooth to tail ratio, as small as possible. Therefore, the Indian Army also has been able to tailor its administrative and support different services that we have to cater with small capacity and becoming leaner and more efficient organizations. The requirements of the troops in the field are phenomenal, starting from your rations to equipment to clothing, the warlike equipment, the non-warlike equipment and stores, your requirements for accommodation, transportation and fuel. As you are aware, the Indian Army operates from the very hot deserts to the very high altitude areas, vagaries of climate, vagaries of terrain, and each of these army units have a specific role to perform. Therefore, even the administrative units which are there in the rear are tailor-made for each of these terrains and each of these regions. That is how we differ basically from any administrative organization that you might find in the corporate world, where they have a broad base and are not specifically tailor-made to meet terrain requirements. When I joined the National Defence Academy, I was just out of my 11th standard. Basically, a little overgrown teenager is how I would classify myself and all the colleagues who joined the training academy with me. We were baptized in the crucible of our training academy. Our training at Khadakwasla was for 3 long years, and that training and that period of our training is something that we will never forget as long as we live. The closest friendships, the closest buddies, people who are willing to die to each other, that friendship, that kind of friendship which you require on the battlefield is forged literally by fire. Similarly, the other troops are put through rigorous training in their respective regimental centers before they are commissioned and passed on to their units, which might be of different roles that they have to perform on the battlefield. When we joined the Indian Army, the Army had reached a fair level of expansion. The weapons and equipment was in the process of getting modernized. We have come a long way since then. The basic weapon of the infantry soldier in the battlefield has improved manifold. Our weapons today are robust, capable of rough handling, do not require too much of maintenance, and are able to deliver the goods on the battlefield. Also, we have a whole lot of surveillance and night surveillance devices which have been introduced to the Army over the years. These help the infantry soldiers and the front line of the battlefield. Coming a little further back, the supporting weapons in the form of artillery, we have the best artillery guns in the world. Also in the process of indigenization and modernization of the artillery. When you talk about integration of the other 3 services also, the Air Force and the Navy have made quantum jumps in the equipment that they now possess. So So therefore, our capability as an integrated army, capable of performing in all the three fields of battle, is tremendous and worth any other army in the world. Army units are very cohesive units, and as you are aware, when we are in peace stations, all of us are located in cantonment areas. Cantonment areas are protected from the other environments. The entry and exit is restricted. This is a measure which needs to be incorporated by the army to keep its soldiers insulated from any virus or any pandemic that might be rampant in the civilian areas. The similar facilities or similar drills and procedures are followed in field areas where units are deployed in a cohesive manner but far displaced from each other. The discipline required to maintain separation and distance from a population that might have been infected is very easy to achieve in the army because of the system that we have of command and control. In addition to this, at the beginning of the lockdown, that was sometime in the last week of March, the army had come up with a practice of troops who were away on leave. They continued to remain on leave, and people who were back in their units continued to remain in their operational areas. This continued for a period of 2 months roughly, by which we had organized our movement from the peace areas to the forward areas and vice versa. So once this process got streamlined, things in the army were absolutely under control. I would like to remark and tell you that there were very few cases of COVID positive cases in the entire Army, Navy or Air Force as of today. When I came up for command to the rank of a full colonel, I was given the responsibility of commanding a specialist anti-terrorist unit in Jammu and Kashmir. These units are known as the Rashtriya Rifles Battalions. We have about 25 officers and about 1200 Jawans in each unit. My responsibility was to lead this unit into battle, gather intelligence, eliminate the terrorists with least casualties or least damage to our own troops. This was a solemn responsibility which was squarely on my shoulders as a commanding officer of that unit. As part of our operations, we would be out for operations every single day. I commanded the battalion for 30 months. I cannot recall any odd Sunday also or a holiday when we were in our camps. We were out gathering intelligence, identifying terrorists, ensuring separation from the civilian population and eliminating them. Our job and our roles required us to ensure that there was no damage to civilians and no damage to their property. At this time, when I was in command in Jammu and Kashmir, obviously families were not allowed in that area. My wife was in Shillong. Fortunately, as most of my troops come from the northeast, a large number of the families were also left behind in Shillong. Now she, as a commanding officer's wife, played a very important role in ensuring that the families were well looked after. As you can imagine, in those days, there was no mobile phones, there was no cell technology. So getting across messages from the ladies to their husbands in the field, my wife played a stellar role in that. Because of her and because of her proximity to the soldiers' wives, we were able to ensure that the boys do not have any mental tension while they are out on the field combating the terrorists. I remember a large number of operations when, because of our accurate intelligence, we were able to gun down a large number of terrorists. In fact, in one particular operation, there were 14 terrorists who we managed to kill over that one single night. This was a major haul, and because of this, my unit, 35 Rashtriya Rifles Battalion, Assam, was awarded the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Card for this action. See, we have a very long land border with China. It starts from the extreme east, which is the eastern end of Arunachal Pradesh, extended right through the state, along the Nepal-Tibet border, ending up on the extreme west near the Karakoram Pass. This total length is roughly in the range of 4,500 kilometers. Now we have a system of border surveillance, we have a system of defense in depth. The border surveillance is primarily carried out by the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. The areas of posts which are manned by the ITBP are suitably beefed up by army troops within those posts at times of requirement. Also, these areas are constantly patrolled by the army. Now, there are vast stretches of these which are at very high altitude, ranging from 18,000 feet upwards. They are snowbound throughout the year. The terrain is very difficult and tough to man continuously throughout. Therefore, we already have a large number of surveillance systems which are there. Now, China has time and again proven to be a most unreliable neighbor. Now, their policy of expansion is what has led them to come across the line of actual control, which is an imaginary line, but supposed to be respected by both the armies, which in this case the Chinese army refused to respect. We had a system, a laid down protocol, wherein our troops would, go and patrol up to areas which we considered as our line of actual control, and so would they. But they violated this protocol with total disregard to all international norms. After we had the clash at Protective Patrol number 14, and when this got highlighted, and when the Chinese realized that the Indian government and the Indian Defence Forces, their stand is now different from what it was in '62, they have had a rethought. The army on its part and the government is very committed that China must withdraw to the pre-May 20 positions that they had occupied. They occupied these positions and enhanced their strength there in the guise of an exercise in Tibet, which they call as their own territory. What happens in the future now? The Indian government, with the support from its allies, which is the Quad, the Australia, Japan, US and the Philippines, all together have decided that they must work as a bloc and ensure that the Chinese do not succeed in their aim. Therefore, we are prepared for the long haul militarily, as well as the government has gone into an economic drive to ensure that the Chinese economy loses because of not being allowed to function in India.
Elizabeth Matthews Nongbri, wife of Colonel Nagarajan, has been actively working to help the society in the work of the coronavirus pandemic.
Well, those initial days, I think it was in March when the lockdown had happened, and we heard the distress calls from people suffering without rations and medicine. So we went out and managed to get some material and distribute it. We did that on few occasions. One was we got material from the the St. Joseph's institutions, and that was mainly rations. And the second time was also rations and medicines from the Bengaluru Nagarika Samiti. We also managed to send back migrants who were stuck in Bangalore, who wanted to get back to the northeast, to their hometowns because of loss of jobs. So they wanted to get back, and we managed to arrange a few flights, and I was coordinating the flight arrangements, and I think 2 flights left in June, and one more flight leaving now on the 23rd. Yes, initially my people would be, oh, why are you going out, you know, but then I think coming from defense background, we are courageous, and when we see people helpless and suffering, you know, we want to reach out and help them. Of course, we take precautions and follow the COVID guidelines. So yeah, and God was helping us. As part of my social service for the Northeast, we have formed an ex-servicemen association, including their wives, and we look to uplift communities in the entire Northeast by involving the ex-servicemen association in that.
15th August is a very special day for our country, and we look at it with great pride. As you can see, both of us are from different parts of the country. She is from the Northeast, I am a Tambram from Bangalore. We've been married for 35 years now and have spent a greater portion of our lives in the army. Take us as an example of national integration. The strength of our nation lies in its diversity. As we have been bonding together and living our lives together for so many years, therefore, in a similar manner, our nation has been a strong social society despite its diversity for thousands and thousands of years. We are joyous on this day. We celebrate our diversity, and we hope that our country will look forward to a much brighter future as the years go by. Jai Hind.
Well, I would like to wish all Indians in India and abroad a very happy Independence Day. And as women, as ladies, let us all support our husbands in whichever endeavor they are in to make our nation strong. Jai Hind.